Dad Coaster Company. In May of 2018, Six Flags Over Georgia debuted the new and improved version of the once dead Georgia Cyclone. Georgia Cyclone operated from March of 1990 all the way up until July of 2017. The rebirth of Georgia Cyclone resulted in Rocky Mountain Construction, or RMC, coming in to revitalize the ride. For those of you who don't know, RMC is a manufacturing company based out of Idaho. RMC has become very well known for turning old wooden roller coasters into brand new hybrid magical pieces of rides. Basically, just to give a quick synopsis of how they do so, RMC will come in and start construction. They will typically come in and reuse some of the original wooden structure of the coaster. Once the final layout is determined, RMC will begin construction, again using the original structure, as well as using brand new structure. Instead of using the coaster's original wooden track, RMC will bring in what they call iBox track. Basically, to sum it all up, iBox track is basically steel topper track that makes the ride experience so much better. This iBox track also turns what used to probably be a really rough wooden roller coaster into an awesome hybrid coaster that can do so many different elements such as stalls, barrel rolls, inversions, and much more. To sum it all up, RMC has completely changed the game by combining steel with wood and combining old with new. Now back to the new. Again, Six Flags Over Georgia opened this new and improved version of Georgia Cyclone in May of 2018. When this coaster reopened though, it did not reopen as Georgia Cyclone. It reopened with a completely new name, known as Twisted Cyclone. As you would guess as I introduced RMC, this ride opened as a completely different ride, as well as a completely much better ride than Georgia Cyclone. I unfortunately never got to ride Georgia Cyclone, but I've heard from people that have ridden it that it was very rough. I did, however, get to ride Twisted Cyclone for the very first time here just a couple weeks ago here in May of 2023. I'll let you know how my experience was here in just a few minutes, or you can also check out my vlog from Six Flags Over Georgia. When this coaster opened, I'm sure Six Flags had in their minds that they just hit a complete home run, as this ride opened with some great reviews from the public, from enthusiasts, from all kinds of people. This ride definitely shot up there with Goliath as one of the best rides in the entire park. Not only that, this probably became one of the best coasters in the southeast portion of the United States, as well as one of the best RMCs in the southeast portion of the United States. If you wanted to be easy, you could also say this was the best RMC in the city of Atlanta, even though there was no other RMCs in the city of Atlanta. Let's fast forward though about 5 years or so. Have you guys ever heard of a little park called Fun Spot America? Yeah, they have 3 parks. 2 in the Orlando area, Fun Spot America Orlando, Fun Spot America Kissimmee, and the 3rd, Fun Spot America Atlanta. If I had to describe Fun Spot in any way, I would describe it as the White Castle of theme parks or amusement parks. And here's why I say that. Because Fun Spot is everybody's last resort, kind of whenever there's nothing else to do in Orlando. You know, if you want to go ride some more rides and it's late at night and parks like Disney, Universal are closed for the day, you're like, you know, let's go to Fun Spot. And Fun Spot is where you can go have some good old fun on some sometimes shady rides, and you can eat some sometimes shady food and do whatever else that just, I don't know. Fun Spot is just, it's a special vibe. And I'm sure Fun Spot in Atlanta is the same way. If you have thrill seekers who are at Six Flags Over Georgia all day long and they just didn't get enough thrill while they're at the park, hey, they can go across Atlanta and go to Fun Spot for the night. Alright, so let's go back to the almost 5 years thing. Well, you know what? No, let's go to 3 years ahead. So we're in 2021 now. Well, in November of 2021, Fun Spot America Atlanta pulled let's just say a Lee Corso on College Game Day and said, not so fast, my friends. Not so fast as in, oh, Six Flags Over Georgia? You think you guys have the best RMC in Atlanta? Well, watch this. At IAAPA in 2021, Fun Spot America Atlanta unveiled what was ArieForce One. As soon as that animated POV dropped, Six Flags Over Georgia had to be shivering in their boots. Just from the animated POV that they revealed at IAAPA, you could already tell that this RMC was going to be absolutely insane. You could even tell that it was potentially going to be one of the best RMCs in the country. I had the awesome opportunity to ride this the exact same day as I did Twisted Cyclone, and just like Cyclone, I'm going to save my thoughts and opinions on Arie for later. Yes, both Six Flags Over Georgia and Fun Spot Atlanta are both in the Atlanta area, but they are on opposite sides of the city. They are about 28 miles or so apart, or about 35 minutes or so by car. In today's video, I just want to kind of highlight both parks and both coasters, specifically Twisted Cyclone and ArieForce One. I'll give you guys my thoughts and opinions on both coasters and what makes them both unique and special in their own way, as well as which one I think wins the crown of best RMC in Atlanta. Okay, let's start with the OG of Atlanta RMCs, Twisted Cyclone. As I stated before, I never got to ride Georgia Cyclone, but I believe they reused the original station for this coaster. And the station is just your typical station. There's not a lot of theming. There is a little bit of theming, but nothing drastic. The ride starts by making a left-hand turn out of the station and proceeds to a few small bunny hills that are also banked a little bit. After maneuvering through these bunny hills, you make your climb up the 100-foot tall lift hill. As you climb the 100-foot lift, you'll notice a few theming signs on your left-hand side that are themed towards the coaster. Once you crest over the top of that lift hill, you'll make a 75-degree plunge straight down. In my opinion, I really like this first drop both in the front and the back of the coaster. I really think the first drop reminded me of like a miniature version of the Iron Rattler first drop. The reason I say that is it kind of curves to the left a little bit while you're falling, kind of like Iron Rattler does. After that first drop, you'll transition into a step up under flip into a barrel roll down drop. This element is, in my opinion, kind of like RMC's version of a Cobra roll, but coming out of it, it felt like almost like a miniature version of the death roll from Iron Gwazi. After coming out of the barrel roll, you'll hit a nice wave turn that has some great airtime. This will send you to an airtime hill that brings you past the station. You'll hit a banked turnaround back towards the lift hill. After the banked turnaround, you'll run into an airtime hill that brings you into the 0G roll. After the 0G roll, you hit a couple small airtime hills into another bank turn, then you'll slither your way into the final brake run. Overall, I thought Twisted Cyclone was a great ride. It was my personal favorite ride at Six Flags Over Georgia. I had only one other visit to Six Flags Over Georgia several years ago, and Goliath was my favorite ride back then, but to me, this beats Goliath. This RMC is definitely not intense. It has great elements. It's got a lot of the classic elements you want. I'd say the only element that I wish it had and that I think would help its case a little more would be a 0G stall. Other than that, I really don't have any complaints about Twisted Cyclone. It was a fantastic ride. One of the best rides at Six Flags Over Georgia. So if you're ever going to this park or you're planning a trip to this park, you definitely need to check out Twisted Cyclone. Now let's talk about the new kid in town, Mr. ArieForce One. ArieForce One opened up in March of 2023 this year. Needless to say, it had a lot of hype surrounding it whenever it opened. There was so much hype that you really just had to get out there to experience it for yourself to see if the hype was legit. Again, this ride had so much hype around it ever since its announcement. So needless to say, there was a lot that this ride had to live up to. Let's start with the park. Fun Spot Atlanta is definitely no Six Flags Over Georgia. If you're thinking of maybe doing this park in the same day as Six Flags Over Georgia, it is absolutely possible. If you're thinking you're going to be going to a park that just has endless amounts of rides, endless amounts of things to do, think again, because Fun Spot is nothing like that. Very small park, not a lot to do there. Got a handful of flat rides, and then you have a giant $18 million RMC in the back. But hey, size doesn't matter. I was absolutely loving the vibe I got from Fun Spot. The staff was incredible, everybody was super friendly, operations were pretty good, even the food was pretty decent, and their arcade is a golden ticket winning arcade. In all, Fun Spot in general is just a unique experience. So back to Arie. It is literally impossible to miss this coaster as you drive up to Fun Spot. It literally sits right there next to the highway. It's pretty much a giant billboard for Fun Spot. All of the area around the coaster is pretty much new, so all the landscaping and everything looks pretty nice. The station has some really cool theming too. It's not a massive station, but there's even a little bit of a queue that is downstairs under the station that has some theming as well. You better be in your patriotic mood when you're going to ride this ride as well, because you're going to see a lot of red, white, and blue. This coaster starts by pulling out of the station into RMC's signature bunny hops before it gets to the 155-foot tall lift hill. If the coaster is running 2 trains, you'll notice that it'll begin to climb the lift hill really slow as it gets towards the middle of the lift. This is because it's allowing the second train to pull back into the station. All in all, it's a block zone issue. Just ask El Toro about that. You'll then crest over the 155-foot tall lift hill into a 146-foot drop. This drop is also angled at 83 degrees, making it steeper than Twisted Cyclone's first drop. After that 146-foot drop, you will make your way towards the Raven Truss dive, which is really a really unique experience. The truss almost makes it feel like it's a tunnel effect without a tunnel. You'll then head towards a small speed hill that provides a really good pop of airtime. This speed hill will propel you into America's longest 0G stall. You'll come out of that long stall into a really good wave/outer bank turn. That turn will turn you over to the double up, which provides some awesome airtime. After the double up, you'll drop down into the arcade roll, which was my favorite element on the ride by far. To me, this felt like a small version of the Mosasaurus roll and Velocicoaster. After the arcade roll, you'll turn into a small helix that goes into the second barrel roll. Right after the barrel roll, you'll go into the chili dip/quad down. There is mixed reviews out there about this quad down and the amount of airtime on it, but I personally did not mind the airtime on it. I thought it was absolutely awesome. My only complaint was the final brake run really just comes at you abruptly. It's just a sudden stop, honestly. Once the ride is over, there is a chance that you may have to sit on the brake run for a few minutes while they dispatch the other train. Other than that, I can't really find much to complain about ArieForce One. It is nearly a flawless ride. If I had to put Twisted Cyclone and ArieForce One up against each other for the title of Best RMC in Atlanta, Arie wins by a long shot. Arie is just taller, faster, stronger. It is just a whole nother animal compared to Twisted Cyclone. Arie has 1,000 feet more of track length. Its first drop has nearly 50 feet on Twisted Cyclone's. It runs nearly 15 miles per hour faster than Twisted Cyclone. Its first drop is nearly 10 degrees steeper than Twisted Cyclone. And lastly, I think the majority of its elements are just way better than Twisted Cyclone's. The only thing I would say that is close between the two is the first drop. I really liked the first drop on Twisted Cyclone. I still think Arie's first drop beats it out, but both have really good first drops in my opinion. Overall, ArieForce One takes the title for Best RMC in Atlanta. Not only that, it's one of the best RMCs in the United States of America. I truly think that Fun Spot has now gotten Six Flags Over Georgia's attention, and I think they are sleeping with one eye open because this really is only the beginning for Fun Spot Atlanta. Who knows, this could create a nice little rivalry for the city of Atlanta and their 2 parks. This may also cause Six Flags to come out with something crazy that's going to top ArieForce One. We will see though. If you guys are going to Atlanta for a coaster trip to check out Six Flags Over Georgia, check out Fun Spot Atlanta as well. Even though there's not much of this park, going for ArieForce One alone is worth the price of admission in itself. You can absolutely do both of these parks in the same day, and Fun Spot is more than likely going to be open quite a bit later than Six Flags, so it'll be really easy to just hit up both of them in the same day. I hit up both parks in the same day and absolutely enjoyed my time so much. You guys can check out my experience and check out the videos that I posted from both those parks. I'll be sure to leave cards and links to the videos in the end screen. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed this little versus battle between Twisted Cyclone and ArieForce One. I would absolutely appreciate it if you guys would subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment. The more support and feedback I get from you guys, the more it motivates me to get back out into the parks and to get some more content out there for you guys. We are also planning to launch the Dad Coaster Co. podcast here pretty soon, so stay on the lookout for that. Also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. You can find links to do so in our bio on our channel. Again, thank you guys for the support and thank you for watching this video. We'll see you guys in the parks.
Dad Coaster Company.